You wanted to speak about jealousy, you said.
Yeah. It was something that happened probably a few weeks ago. The jealousy that I wanted to speak about was not so much jealousy in relationship, even though about that I could speak for another few hours, and I don't know if that would be enough. Jealousy that I found I have in myself for other people, for their success. So basically, it's something that I have actually found within myself, which I was actually quite surprised of. Generally, I would not consider myself jealous person. You know, some person gets something, some person does something very well, and I'm like really happy, you know, for the greater goodness of the human beings, humankind. But I found, talking about our field, you know, like practitioners, the healers, what I found is, I think I came across some videos or something of somebody kind of like me, and I I looked at the videos and I found that the quality was so much better. And then I found myself in such a state of like a jealousy.
But is it jealousy or is it envy?
What is the difference?
I feel like jealousy is really this kind of possessive relationship type jealousy. And envy, it's more like, it is like jealousy, but in a different context. Like I envy someone for what they have. It's not as, I guess, the energy is not as aggressive as the jealousy energy.
So it was like seeing somebody doing better quality or something that I judged as the better quality work that I do, let's say in videos, okay? There is some certain standard that you want to achieve, and the closer to that standard we are, the better we feel at our, let's say, quality of the contents on the production, okay? And I found some, I think, I don't know why, I thought I'm gonna go and compare. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna compare myself with other people. Bad idea,
like
right?
the best idea ever.
So as I started to compare myself, I, you know, like if you look at the videos, you don't really find very crappy videos, so that you compare yourself to are actually very good. And the more I've seen, I was like, oh my god, she's producing such a good videos, and look at me with my crappy editing and things like that, you know. And then I started to feel like somehow, I don't know if it's jealousy or envy, but it's kind of like when you start to feel this lack of I don't know, lack of audience or something, and you think like, okay, well, if she or he or they are doing so well, that means there is this pie of audience that they're gonna take all of these pieces, and you know, there's not gonna be anybody for me, you know. So I felt this kind of feeling. Also, I started to feel quite bad about myself, and I doubled that, you know, like you stab. There is somebody who's suffering on the ground and you stab them, you know, like a double stab kind of.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's like I'm already feeling bad, and then I'm feeling also, second layer of feeling bad was I'm feeling this feeling, and I'm feeling bad for feeling this feeling because I should not be feeling this feeling. So yeah, so I don't know if it was like envy or jealousy, possessiveness of like, no, I have to, all of you people stay back, I'm coming through, you know, that kind of thing. But it's not about any kind of one particular thing. It may be envy, but it is something that kind of it's unpleasant emotion, and I think it's the a result of comparing yourself with someone that you perceive to be better at something. Yeah.
I feel like it's this feeling of lack, of like, I'm lacking something that, you know, they already have this skill and therefore this audience. And I feel like it's not like you were feeling bad for this feeling, maybe that also, but it feels more like I am feeling bad for this feeling because I created this feeling, actually. Right? Like, I wouldn't even have, like, I went out and deliberately went to compare myself. If I go on YouTube and I check out the videos, I am prepared. I will see things that are like, I don't even have to compare myself to it. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I already know that if that's my intention, then, you know, I will either feel crappy or I'll be like, yeah, that's just a different.
The thing that kind of like hit me unexpectedly, because you know, when you start something, you're quite crappy at it, but as you continue to do it and you think, you know what, now I'm actually much better than I was. Let me go and see how good I am. And you go and you see yourself like, okay, I'm not as, you know, I'm not such a high level as I thought I am. But I think it, you know, you're right in a way that you kind of like, I regretted even going out there to see it. And the thing that I kind of like remember about this subject is this, you know, like they say that basically comparing yourself with somebody else is like it doesn't really make sense that much, because, you know, if we're talking about uniqueness, you know, you're not going to have exactly the same skills. You're not going to have exactly the same style. You're not going to have exactly the same way you think about things, you present things, you explain things, you see things. So comparing yourself with somebody else doesn't really make sense. Of course, you know, probably there are some categories and we do compare ourselves with other people, but I think the cure for this is, I guess, you know, like working on your uniqueness. But I think this kind of like
I actually disagree with the whole don't compare yourself. I think it's
okay. Okay. Tell me. I'm curious.
Like, yes, we are all unique, but for example, I come from like opera, right? As a singer. And yes, of course, I have a unique voice, and I totally hate the whole like, oh, we're all competitors and, you know, like I'm better than you, because if you are at a certain level, then there really is uniqueness, and there's a difference maybe in style and in technique, but it doesn't really make sense to do the whole like, kind of thing. But at the same time, I have to know what the standard is. Like, I don't like, if I sing in my shower and I think I'm the greatest opera singer alive, and I go to audition and I suck, because I haven't even looked around. It's like when you want to open a restaurant in a new town. You're supposed to, like, you have to do some market research, you know. If you want to sell a product, you have to do some market research, like what's already there, and, you know, what I have to offer. Yes, I have to like focus on the quality of my food, and, you know, the atmosphere in my restaurant, and, you know, that all my employees are happy and whatever. Yes, but if there are like 10 similar restaurants around, it's not like it's impossible, but it's like maybe there's a better place to start somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, yes, of course, like, don't go comparing yourself all the time. But when you enter a field, it is a good idea to check. Like, I think what's kind of playing out for you also is you don't aspire to be a YouTuber, or do you?
Not necessarily. I don't know. Not the type of YouTuber that is like, oh my God, I'm gonna produce contents for entertainment of people. For me, it's my self-expression more.
And it's like, you know, some of the people out there, when you go on YouTube, that's what they do, right? That's their main thing. And if you compare yourself to someone like that, then that doesn't make sense, you know? Like that's not even anything that you can probably reach, because that's a full-time.
What? Okay, I can. Don't challenge me on this one. No, well, okay. I think I kind of get what you're saying. Let me bring in both sides. I think the problem that happened to me probably happened to other people is when I agree about comparing, and also I agree for not comparing. Libra, okay? Libra. Okay, I agree with comparing and I agree not comparing. I think comparison in generally is fine, but I think where we go wrong, or to say where I went wrong, is this. Me comparing something made me as the whole person to feel worse.
Yeah.
So I kind of attached the result of comparison to my self-worth. As a person. I think that's the place where the things went wrong. For example, if you compare your singing to other people's singing, it's just your singing. It's not whole you. It's not totality of you. And then if you fail at that one skill, it doesn't make you fail as a person, as a human being. And I think what I did at that point, I somehow didn't really disconnect my skill or certain skills from my overall self-worth as a person. And I went there because I think I attached my self-worth first of all with my skill or with the level of proficiency at that point. And I went out there and I compared myself and I failed, and then I came back as a person who failed, as human being who failed in some category, you know. And I think that was the point that kind of made it painful, because you know, if there is some skill that we are perfecting, I agree, it's perfectly fine, you know, like something. But I think the problem was attaching self-worth and attaching value of self to one particular, you know, to one particular quality and failing at it, you know.
I feel like it's totally what we make it mean. You know, like I had a situation a few years ago with a singer colleague who we were actually friends. We got quite close. We sent really long voice messages to each other. It was really like good exchange. And all of a sudden she got very defensive about some things, and all of a sudden it just went a really weird way, and she felt like we were competing, and she felt like maybe I was, you know, envious of her, or which I actually think it was the other way around. But it doesn't actually really matter, and because we're in the same field, and she doesn't know if she can be friends with me, and I was very honest with her, and I don't actually, it's a few years back, so I don't remember all the details, but I do remember that I told her, look, I'm not gonna lie, like, of course, we're in the exact same field. We are the same voice type. We're also, we share some other traits and interests, like we're spiritual. And yes, of course, sometimes if, for example, I see you succeed in something, or I see you acquiring jobs, maybe that might make me feel envious. But I'm not making this mean anything about you or our friendship, because I know in that moment that is inside of me. That has nothing to do with me not, you know, actually not wanting you to succeed, which is something that can come up, like, oh, like, why did she get this? I want her to fail, right? And it's like, oh my God, I shouldn't be thinking that way. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm thinking that way. Why? Because I feel insufficient, and I feel like I'm not there where she is, where I want to be, you know. And she was not able to make that distinction, you know, to say, okay, when you feel this, it's kind of like, when you feel this, you are against me. And I'm like, I'm actually against myself when I feel this. Right? For me, that is a natural thing to come up, even in the healing field. Like you see some people, you know, succeed so fast, and then you're like, damn, like what do they have that I don't have? But it doesn't have to mean, it doesn't mean anything about them. It doesn't even mean anything about the relationship. It just means something about me in that moment.
I wanted to ask you, is that something that you felt all along? Is like, did you come out as a personality and you didn't really? What I found, I actually, you know, like when you dig into your subconscious and the depths and the things like that, I actually identify that I do have some darkness in that way. Like, yes, I understand, consciously understand, yes, you know, it's about me, but there is a little part of me like, it would be so satisfying if the person would fail. I mean, like, I'm putting it out there because there is this part, and I think some people do feel that a bit, because I don't know if it's actually even possible to kind of be on this completely goodwill type of field, you know, we even when we feel that. So I think my kind of question and dilemma is like, if we have that part who is like, yeah, you know what, I don't want those people to succeed because they're doing better than me. I wish they would fail a little bit. That would make me feel good. And when we see that part coming up with us, what do we do then? Because there is also a reality of our personality. I don't know if that happens to you, but I know, like, I discovered some of those a bit of malicious parts within me, and you know, like, I don't like it. I completely don't like that about, you know, myself. Of course, because I don't want to see anything bad about myself, but it's there. So, so what do we do then? You don't have to answer. You just give me your take on this, you know?
It's kind of refreshing because I was speaking to a guy some weeks ago, and I told him about how I feel. I still feel a little bit of resentment towards one of my ex-partners, where it's like, you know, I know that the most of me really wants him to be like, to be well and to have a really healthy relationship, because you know, there was a point in my life where we were together for a reason, not because I hated him, right?
Yes, of course.
But then there's a small part that is so resentful of what happened that just, I don't know, has some of these evil thoughts. And he went like, yeah, but that's wrong. Like, you cannot think that way about somebody. Like, you don't wish anyone like ill, or you don't wish anyone evil, like mean things. And that wasn't even a spiritual person. That was funny. And I'm like, yeah, but it's there. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I've made peace with that being there, and it getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But what I discovered within me, first of all, the more I stand in my power and live my truth, and the more things work for me, the smaller that kind of ill-intended part becomes. And the other thing is, though, what I've noticed about me is I think I have a pretty good sensor of whether people are doing what they are meant to be doing, and if they're in it with their full heart. And if I see that they don't, and they're still successful, that's when I go, yeah, I want to see you fail. Because I think, like, that's wrong, you know, like, because I realized, it's an interesting topic, because I had this issue for a really long time in my life where I could never really be completely happy for other people, which was related to a lot of unhappiness within myself. And when I started all the inner work and whatnot, and I remember that moment where I saw a friend of mine do her thing, which I had always kind of envied her for a little bit secretly. And then eventually I got to, like, watch her again and do her thing, and it was super successful, and I felt so happy for her. And I was like, wow, this is such a good feeling to be so happy for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I want to treasure that. And I feel like the more I'm connected, like have, you know, removed those layers on top of my heart, the more I am really genuinely happy for someone else.
Wait, hold on. It's like, you know, when you look at the mirror, you look fine. Then you look at the screen and you look all of this, what is it called? Like a halo? But it's not the actual halo, but it's the halo of your hair coming out around you. So,
I know.
yeah, so that's what happened here.